A few years back, I made a video where I tallied up how the reigns of every Roman/Byzantine emperor ended. Most of them died, very few lived, and were put into exile. But as you can imagine, there were several unique deaths, like being dragged by a deer or assassinated with a bucket. I thought it would be a fun and simple video to look into other empires and tally their rulers' deaths too. And why not go with one of the self-proclaimed successors to the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire? Hey, I said self-proclaimed. I know everyone always argues over it. We don't need to have a historical flame war in the comments. The Ottoman Empire did not nearly have as many sultans as the Roman Empire had emperors. After all, we're comparing 624 years to nearly 1500 years. We can still make it a fairer comparison by breaking down the Roman results into Unified Empire, Western Empire, and Eastern/Byzantine Empire. Will it be more or less chaotic? Will more live to their old age? Will there be any funny deaths? Like for the last video, there are some caveats to how things will be tallied. I'll use the same categories from the Roman deaths video. That means for medical issues, while most longer term conditions have their own category, any viral based diseases or quick deadly illnesses will count under the sickness category. It also means that any deaths that are disputed or unclear will also be a single category. Sure, there are always rumors of some old leader being offed in secret or something like that, but for this case it's when there appears to be multiple major claims on how the Sultan died. Or maybe no one appears to be fully sure in the details. First, we'll go through the one-offs, the deaths that only appear to have happened to one Sultan. One interesting one is gout, which is what is believed to have killed the first Sultan, Osman I. Gout was a notably common condition in the Osman family, and multiple sultans had it, but I guess Osman I is the only one confirmed to have been killed by it. But perhaps the most unique death, both here and for the whole list, has to be death from slipping while intoxicated, which happened to poor Selim II at the age of 50. Marble floors, they're very dangerous. Murad I, meanwhile, wasn't the only sultan to have his reign end during a battle, but was the only one to have been slain in battle. Bayezid I, meanwhile, had his reign ended during a battle, but was actually kidnapped by Tamerlane's forces. He'd die in captivity later, but obviously he needed his own kidnapping category. Funnily enough, Suleiman the Magnificent technically died during a battle, but he wasn't slain, and he actually died in his tent of old age. So he'll be counted in the natural causes category that'll come up later. But it is a unique technicality, so I just had to bring it up. In fifth place, we have natural causes for two sultans. Now, considering things like heart attack and stroke are their own categories, there's always going to be that debate on what really counts as a natural cause. Most old people do get a stroke or a heart attack after all, but in this case, there were two sultans that appeared to have died in their old age without any major outside cause or sickness. Orhan is an interesting case where we technically do not know when he was born, but was estimated to have died around the age of 80, making him the longest living sultan if true. Tied for fifth place is assassinations, which happened to two sultans. Naturally, both of these assassinations were done by the Janissaries, the Ottoman equivalent to the Roman Praetorian Guard in more ways than one. I expected this to be higher, but it's only in fifth place, mainly because the Janissaries simply deposed the ruler and then had them killed later. Sultans Ibrahim and Osman II were outright killed by the Janissaries rather than deposed, both through strangulation. In fact, Ibrahim's assassination was probably the most psychotic, as it was ultimately approved of and observed by his own mother. Yikes. For fourth place, we have the disputed or unclear category for three sultans. Mehmed II's death has been debated on between gout versus being poisoned. Mehmed III's death has been credited to either stroke, plague, or stress. Meanwhile, Sultan Ahmed II's death didn't mention any particular condition, but he was barely 51, so he didn't seem old enough to fit natural causes, so I placed him here. I don't know, maybe I missed something. Tied for fourth place is stroke, which killed three Ottoman sultans. One of them, Murad II, is an interesting case because he ruled two separate times, and the first time he voluntarily abdicated. But upon his return to the throne, his final end was from a stroke only at the age of 46. In third place, we have disease, which killed four sultans. If we were to break the illnesses up into their own categories, Ahmed I died of typhus, Osman III died of septicemia, and then both Mahmud II and Abdulmecid I died of tuberculosis. Then for second place, we have my personal favorite category, the Civil War category. While some civil wars were people competing over the same throne, other civil wars had sides where everyone used the title of sultan and controlled at least part of the empire. That applies to 5 sultans, or at least sultan claimants, who failed to win their civil wars and therefore met their end. Then in first place, we have the category of forcibly deposed, which applied to 11 sultans. Now, I know that the title of the video is about how sultans died, which reads differently than how their reign ended, so to make this sound more consistent with the title of the video, let's just say died in deposition or exile. But I guess if you're in exile, you had to leave the country. Doesn't matter. Died in deposition. That'll work. Especially since most of these depositions were done by the Janissaries, and the deposed sultan would usually die imprisoned or exiled less than a year or two later. Did the Janissaries always kill them? Not necessarily, but nevertheless they were responsible for their overall downfall. Most of these depositions were done in the 18th century, where several sultans in a row kept getting deposed. It wasn't as bad as the Roman crisis of the 3rd century, but definitely chaotic. You know, maybe I should make a future video comparing the Ottoman Janissaries to the Roman Praetorian Guard. Want me to make a video comparing the two? Comment below. That'll probably be pretty interesting. But now that we have the tallied up stats, how does it compare to the Romans? Well, dividing the Romans into their different phases, I guess they're closest to the Byzantines, kind of, since they both share deposed as the top answer. It's also interesting to note that while there was leadership chaos during the Ottoman Empire at several times, it clearly wasn't as chaotic as the Romans, as despite lasting twice as long as the unified empire, it still didn't have as many rulers. So clearly the average Ottoman Sultan reigned longer. That was fun. Should I try this again with another empire or kingdom? Maybe the Holy Roman Empire, since they're another successor of Rome. Let me know in the comments. I'm Emperor Tigerstar, and I'll see you guys next time.